often people have asked me this question, and it came up when we were at the Alliance in June. Why are there so many male educators in a predominantly female profession? You know, why does there seem that disparity between those who are out there teaching, promoting our profession? So I'd love to hear the thoughts on it.
Let me see, anybody
Good, because I can do this and then I'm like off the hook for the rest of the evening. No. I have a lot of opinions on this, and I'm positive that everybody sitting in this room has a lot of opinions on this, but this is something that I really struggled with when I was really first getting started as a continuing education provider. So I have, here are some of my opinions. One is, just because of the culture that we live in, and I'll cop to this as much as anybody else, somehow male voices seem to carry more authority. And so if someone's in an authoritative position, it's easier to hear that for a lot of people, and I'm one of them, sometimes if that's coming from a male voice. Another reason is that, again, because of our culture, and if, that it is sort of more expected if someone's going to be taking big risks with their career, that that person is a male rather than a female. And here's how I came to that. That when my book was really beginning to take off and I was becoming in demand for continuing education, I really was on a cusp where I could take the risk that some of the big male educators do with booking their own space and doing their own promotion and hiring a staff to set things up for them on the hopes that you make enough money to make that worthwhile. Or I could be a consistent parent to my children and have a set hourly fee and have my expenses covered, which meant that was, that meant that my job was then presenting for basically for AMTA chapters in schools. And just say, this is my hourly fee, and I would know what was going to happen every time. It's a tiny fraction of what you can make if you go a different way. On the other hand, my expenses are, are goose egg. And I really struggled with that decision, and I decided I did not want to take the risks of laying out a large amount of money on the possibility that it might generate a large amount of money. And to me, I think that that's largely a gender-based attitude about how you construct your safety zone. For money and so on. I had a lot of twisting and turning in my heart when my book began to really make some money. And I remember the first year I made more money than my husband did. And I told my mom, right? And she said, oh, how does Kurt feel about that? And, fortunately, Kurt's response to that was, yeah, bring it on, make more! So... and so that's a wonderful thing about our relationship, but this is the history that we come out of. So I'll add one last thing, that's my opinion about men in education, is that if you look at it, most of the men who are really well known as educators, and I have a lot of respect for them, are teaching technique. And most of the women who are really well known educators are teaching less technique, or they're teaching business, they're teaching pathology, they're teaching elder care, they're teaching little kids care, right? But it's not bing bang 7 hours a day of heavy duty myofascial release, or the things that are highly physical. And I think that has something to do with it too. I think it has something to do with strength and stamina. We all know that if you're careful about your body mechanics, then strength and stamina come with that. But I'm sorry, but it's easier if you're 6'2" and 180 pounds and you're well built to do that kind of work on an ongoing basis. So those are my opinions about why the leading educators, especially educators of technique, because there really are not a lot of really high-profile women educators who are doing technique. I can only think of like Judith Delaney and Carol Osborne, who are teaching technique on the road today. At the same kind of level that Tom Myers and Eric Dalton, James Wisłowski, and David Kent are doing. So that's my experience.
And also, along with that, these men started a long time ago. Mm-hmm. I think now things can be different. But
that's a really good point.
Yeah, we're talking 20, 30 years ago when it was really more where men were doing that.
Yeah.
So I look forward to some newer people making that shift like what you're doing. Yeah. And then the rest of us are like looking for retirement someday.
That's right.
You know, but I think that's also really part of it. And it is a different mindset. And when you do look at the ones that are doing, the ones that have the $500 home study courses versus like $29 course, you know, it takes a different mindset to do that. And doesn't mean that a woman can't have that mindset, but usually a lot of women are dealing, like you said, they tend to be more of the parental role if you have children. You know,
or taking care of parents.
Right.
Or having a whole other set of responsibilities that we take on. And, you know, I'm not blaming anybody about it, but it's just what we choose to do instead of, we choose this instead of that.
And I've always thought it was really rotten. I mean, well, it is, and I know all those, the 4 or 5 men that are really well known into the techniques, and I like them all, but there's no woman that, I don't think anybody wants to do that. Too many women don't want to do that role.
Yeah, it's not, there's no parity. So.
Yeah.
I'm curious to hear, especially from Tina, you know, from someone who's really coming into this from a whole different generation, what that looks like for you.
Well, there is still, and I even myself been growing up just in regular everyday, how do you make your way in the world, let alone even massage. There always has been a challenge where, myself noticing that men are all seen as more professional in some cases in different realms. And so a lot of times women they have that stigma that's associated with being a woman, and you're not supposed to be, like, you're supposed to be a nurturing caregiver. You're supposed to, there still is that role. Even now for myself, so I know myself, I have a 2-year-old.
Yeah.
And so I found the balance in, I'm really supported, like you mentioned, your partner. My husband travels with me. We live in a tour bus. That's how we make what we do possible. And my 2-year-old and my husband travel with me all the time. So I have the support from within my own home. But I still even see challenges for myself, just speaking personally, in my own family, other people wondering about, what are you doing? Can you raise your child that way? And my work is working in pediatrics. I work with infants, I work with children, I teach other caregivers how to do that, healthcare providers how to use massage therapy for those different younger, sort of the younger generation. So it's interesting for me in finding that balance, and I feel like I am able to stand up to those people myself. I feel that I'm confident enough in what I do, that it's important enough to stand up and say, a woman can do this, and it's really okay. I'm taking care of my family just fine. That's not suffering, that area is not suffering, but I still personally feel that sometimes I have to say that to other people. I have to state that, not to worry, that my family life is taken care of. My 2-year-old is just fine, and it's still okay that I'm teaching classes every weekend. Everything's working out. But I still even myself feel that personally from my peers in massage and the massage world, and also just regular colleagues, day-to-day, people of my same age, people I went to school with, question sometimes, how are you successful in your business and still able to take care of your own home life? And so that question still does come up. But I think part of it is just feeling confident in what you want to pursue and putting the energy out there and doing it. I throw everything. Support systems in place. I do, it helps. And I throw everything I do into Little Kids Foundation 100%. And I don't really worry about the little things that come up as barriers. I sort of kick them down.
Like when your tour bus breaks down on the way to Wheeling.
Yes! Yeah, when the tour bus broke down 70 miles from here, and I hopped in the car and still made it, and my husband's taking care of our son. So it worked out. Where if I didn't have that support system, that wouldn't be possible. So that does make it, Ruth makes a really good point, that really does make things possible. But I do think it's also important to be confident in who you are and what you have to offer, what you can learn from other people, what you can share, and just to do it. Not to steal from Nike and say just do it, but really just to do it. And that's the way I do every single day. I just do it. But I still see that other women in the field do have that kind of the heavier hand saying you're not really supposed to do that. You're supposed to be in a different role. But I think all of us could be successful in everything you want to do. It doesn't matter if you're male or female at all. It doesn't make any difference. But I see there's still the cultural piece, the societal piece that says something else. So it's just
and that's why I liked when we wanted to get this whole thing started, because there are a lot of powerful, I mean, the ones up here, I mean, we are kind of, some of the ones have been around a lot longer and they're a lot stronger, but there are a lot of very powerful women. And that's why I wanted this. It's not that we don't love men, you know.
Absolutely. Or really people.
You know, or that, you know, there's that antithesis, but I think that because so many of the people that are out there more visually
they're high profile. They get their pictures on the cover of magazines. You know,
we need to show that there's also strength from the female side, mainly because it's more of a female profession. So that is what I see this is about. You know, and there's nothing that we talk about that isn't about for men or women. You know, all the things that we all blog about, it is not gender related at all. But I think, you know, because there was some talk about, well, some men don't know whether they should even be coming to reading our blogs, and it's just like, it's information that's going to help you in your business life. Right?
You're not going to get this. Calm down.
Well, I think the other thing that we need to also point out is that when these men were first starting to start within the industry, they had some financial backing or some support from the vendors. And so that certainly helped them escalate to the level they were. Now, why women weren't chosen? I just don't think, again, it went back to they weren't ready to accept that role.
Take risks. It was about taking the risks.
It was. But some of that risk wasn't there because they did have the backing. So, you know, I like to do what I can to change that in the positions where I was at, and therefore, you know, you do have some women who do teach technique. I mean, you've got Anita Shannon who does the cupping, massage cupping. You also have the Ashiatsu, right?
Yeah,
or the
and
that's all right. You have Sharon Pushko, who does geriatric massage too. You know, specific techniques. So but I do think you're right. For the most part, it is a lot of theory, but there's also those trendsetters out there that got the job done.
Well, and who are really clearing a pathway for people like Tina and the people who
Oh,
are
yeah,
after.
absolutely.
I think too, it comes back to a little bit about how we raise our children. I know back when the men who are prominent in the industry, you know, they were raised, oh, it's football, gotta go play on men, you know, and we rush our boys out. They're magnificent, man, don't get me wrong, but historically, back in the day, push the boys to play football, push the boys to go be tough, don't be the bully at school, but beat up the bully at school. You know, we raised them to be risk takers, like you were saying. We raised them to take charge, be in charge, be aggressive, be a little bit stronger than we tell our girls. Here's the baby. Feed the baby, change the diaper on the baby. So we were teaching our women back then to be the caregivers, to be the mommies, to be the... So now, you know, I'm raising my daughter, you can be bulletproof, honey. You can be anything you want to be. And I want to be that role model for her. I want to be that person that says, you know what, just because you're female doesn't mean that you can't go out there and take on the world. You certainly can. So I think that the societal shift in the way that we're raising our children maybe is coming around. And women are now of my age and our age and younger are coming into a place of power where, you know what, we're not settling for what, God bless them all, our mamas did. And we're saying, we're capable, and I mean, we'd like you to listen. So here we go. And I think when you started this blog, you started a voice in this industry for women. And I am completely honored to be a part of that, because I hope that when Ryan Huiming puts this on YouTube and wherever else it's going, that one day my daughter will see it and go, hey, that was my mommy saying I can be anything. And those were her friends saying we can all do this. So I think it's a shift in how we raise our children and the way we see society. My husband's a stay-at-home dad. Look, 2 working moms, 2 stay-at-home dads. Completely the antithesis of what it was 40 years ago, right? There were no such things as stay-at-home dads, and if they were a very small minority.
Kind of a shameful thing, yeah.
Right. So I think times are changing, and you know, 2 thumbs up to times changing. It's time.
I have another point of view with it too. How can we keep the softness and the beauty of the feminine without just being technique, with the force that's behind it? I mean, who was the one really doing the massage? It was the mothers rubbing the babies, you know. And so my story is that I raised 3 children basically as a single mother and did it. And it was hard. It's still hard.
It's still hard.
Yeah, I have my elderly parents now. So that balancing act is very difficult. And we lead. They don't stand up there and lead.
Yeah, you're right. I think women are more when men say women are so emotional, it makes me so mad, but you know what, I gotta go, kinda maybe, there might be a little truth in that.
And what's your point?
But where is the value in the
Right.
softness
Yeah.
and not just in the technique?
Except I think there is value, and I don't think, I don't see that as being an issue in this field. I think that, and when I look at the role models of the women, all of us here and the other ones out there, they all are strong and soft. So I think we emulate that really, really well. And it's harder on the ones that are practitioners, that are making their living mainly out of doing the hands-on work to balance that.
Yeah, I'd like to add that balance of the strong and soft works as well for men as it does for women. And I think Pete is one of the best examples of that I know.
That's true.
And I would just like to say, as somebody who has been a CE provider approval person for the state, I've always missed that women, there weren't not enough women who would apply to become providers. It was always an arrow in my heart, like, here are these men who constantly are saying, oh, I can do this, I'm a professional and I can now teach classes. And they were hardly qualified to do that in the way that I see bodywork, which is soft and kind and gentle and effective for people. It's not deep pressure technique. And it's so amazing to me that this group has really begun to do this. I'm really appreciative of that. You know, here we are, we're women in the business of massage, and we're going to represent this in a really heartfelt way. So I'm really appreciative of that. Every time it comes out on the blog, I'm the one who's reading, and sometimes I'm commenting because I'm following the blog, and I'm trying to lead men to follow the blog. So really, really so much appreciate what you're all doing. And I really want to honor that, because I've been a chairman of the board of massage, and I kept wondering, like, well, when are we going to get more women to be presenters? Because women are the ones who are the body workers. Yes. And that perspective of heartfelt, and here are some pieces, and you have to fit this into your family and into your practice. So I'm really glad to be here too.
Thanks for saying that.
Awesome. Yeah.